Hi, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Beyond the Label podcast. So, I've been looking forward to this episode for so long because today's guest is actually someone that I've been dreaming of interviewing ever since I started this. And this woman, this amazing woman and mother, she is a serial entrepreneur, business coach, head of brand and community at SB Academy, and also CEO and founder of the Posh Girls Club. I'm pretty sure a lot of you have heard of this or follow their Instagram page. They are a company that elevates business and lifestyle through brand strategy, and they have a social media page with over 980K followers on Instagram. Like, oh my gosh, how you do that? So, hi, Tori. I'm really excited to have you here.
Hi,
How are
Leanne. I'm
you?
so glad to first see you again. So glad to see you again. It would be great if it were in person in La La Land again, but thank you for having me.
So, Tori, okay, let's begin. I want to know everything from the very beginning. You know, when you first launched your first company, I think it was Posh Life Bling.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like reading on your website and just like recalling the memories. So you worked with no capital, no mentors, like you started with nothing. Can you share
Nothing.
with us how you made that work?
I will. And it's funny, Leanne, because a lot of people don't believe you when you say that. And I get why, because there are a lot of people who like have made up stories, but there's also always ways to figure out social proof and backtrack these stories. And so when I started Posh Life Bling, I really started it because I didn't have anything. I eloped hella young and I was still a teenager and didn't really think out this whole marriage plan. I married him after like 9 months of knowing him, 8 or 9 months of knowing him. And he like swept me off my feet. And, there were all these other outliers that pushed me towards this decision. So I got married. And then I realized, yeah, we didn't really think this through. And then a couple of years later, there's my son, who it was a turbulent marriage. Then I had my first son. And I wanted to be at home with him. I saw him and it was you've met Chrissy, my firstborn. And I was like, it was love at first sight. And then I got to double that with my baby boy. But I didn't think about how I was going to make money if I was going to be at home with him. And so we tried this out for a while. And like I said, it was just a really turbulent marriage. We were kids, so we didn't know any better. And finally, I started thinking about ways that I could create income. And I saw this little pink phone that I really wanted. There was a company in Europe that was designing these phones, but you had to send your phone to them. And I was like, who's doing that? This is like early 2000s. I'm not sending my phone out to anyone anywhere. Cell phones were like super new, right? And so
Yeah, it was so
I,
expensive.
yeah, it was really expensive. And they were in the UK at the time. I can't remember the name of the company, but their designs were beautiful. And I was like, I need this phone. I was like, there's got to be a way to do this. There has to be a way because there were no cases back then, no face plates. This is like 2000, 2001. You didn't have those options, right? So the Motorola Razr was like the new phone. And so I decided, okay, maybe if I design, because you could do the housings of phones. If I do the housings, I can bling them out and then send the whole kit. But how was I going to do that when I didn't have any money? So eBay was new and MySpace was pretty new. It was like the first real like social media. I found a company online on eBay that I could sell handbags. I could buy the handbag. I could use photos. I could use marketing skills. I just got gritty, right? I was like, I can sell this. I connected those pictures to like celebrities and I used like what I knew, the glitz, the glam, the girliness to be creative enough to attract the attention of my customer and be able to sell to them. Now, I made an eBay account. I got photos like I said, I found different vendors that I felt had good products that I could mark up. And that's what I did. I got photos from them. I made, like I said, really great copy. I put them on eBay. Obviously put a markup on the product and I sold my first bag before I ever bought the bag. So once it sold, then I bought the purse, checked it out, didn't spend the money. This is key because you can't spend your profit until your customer receives their product and they're happy. So, you actually happy. Listen, you'd be surprised. Don't spend the money, okay? Make sure your customer has a great experience. I can't tell you how many people go right out and spend the money. The customer hasn't gotten it. Now you're in the negative, like hashtag knock it off, okay? Sold the product. It was great. Packaged it, put a cute little note in there with it, sent it off. There's a happy customer. Reinvest and do it again. And that is how I sold my first product. And this became like big. I had this huge store on eBay. Then once I had done that enough, I was able to invest in the product that I wanted to buy so that I could start selling bling.
Wow. And like, what gave you the idea? Was it just like trying to make money? Like, did you think a lot about it? Because I think one of the problems that people have with starting a company is that they think a lot. Like, they spend a lot of time to plan. Like, do
Yeah.
you go through with that?
Yeah, I think a lot of people overthink instinct. You have instinct, gut instincts for a reason. Listen, there were no Posh Girls Clubs or any of these other big brands coaching and teaching. There was none of that, did not exist until like Instagram, right? I had instincts, something that told me, and I think this is what I call, like, this is my magic, my USP, my unique selling proposition, the thing that makes me different. We all have it. There is magic in every single one of us. And you have instincts that so often people spend the time talking themselves down from their instincts and talking down their magic and playing down their magic instead of just leaning into it. And that is what I think a part of my spark is, and why I attract people, just because I just live in my authentic self, right? I'm over the top bubbly. Yes, I've got a sparkle pen on my desk, and like teenagers, I don't care. My kid says there's a 6-year-old little girl trapped in my body. But it's okay. I lean all the way into it. So trust your instincts, because you're made the way you are for a reason, right? You're made the way you are. So lean all the way into that. And number 2, don't try to replicate someone else's magic. So many people are afraid, or they're copying, and that's not genuine and authentic. And I get the desire to copy because you think, oh, this person has done it this way. Let me look just like them. Let me sound just like them. Let me act just like them. And then your spark is gone. As you're planning and as you're scaling, sure, now you can start to build out a plan. But I just went with my instincts.
I remember, so when you talk about your pen on your desk, so when we were at that mastermind retreat, so each of the participants, all of us girls, we actually had a pen that had like a diamond bling
Diamonds.
on
Yes.
top, and I thought like that was just so cool because it was very authentic. Like, all of the other like business conferences or retreats that I've been to, they were also formal. They were all like almost identical. But
Mm-hmm.
that one with you, I really felt like, okay, like I made the right decision. There's really something different about this.
No, that actually connects exactly to what I'm just saying. Like, bling is my thing. And I wanted to create a moment together. And I didn't. You're exactly right. So it goes back to doing what's right for you. And it just shows that it worked. I'm never going to be the kind of brand that has that type of event. I'm never going to do it. I want to connect with my people. And so I really appreciate that you value that.
Yeah. And I really want to know more because, obviously when you first started out, it was like the early 2000s, and you were kind of like the first people who, had the idea of like the bling phone and also Posh Girls Club, because there was like not really a lot of coaching and mentor things going on, but you caught on that trend like really early. So was there anything specific that inspired you, or what instinct was it?
For me, with bling, I know that a lot of it was timing. The timing was perfect with where I was, with the fact that like Paris and Nicole and the Simple Life was like really new. So I got to hop onto that train. I always use her as a part of my brand modeling. And so eventually getting my bling inside of her book, it was easy. I didn't even ask her. She just did it. She took it to the book signing. So timing when I started, but I just applied pressure and ran with it. And what I didn't realize then is that I was using a formula. Oh, and this is the formula that I teach with the 12 pillars, right? That we worked on. It's a formula that I use over and over and over. And that's why with PGC, I've been able to even to continue. So it started with Paris, Lindsay, all those girls from the Simple Lifetime, like Lauren from the Hill, like all of that era, right? From the
Oh my
Hills,
god, Lauren
Audrey.
Conrad?
Yes, Lauren Conrad. This was early
Oh
on, right? To Audrina. I said Audrey, but Audrina, she was one of the ones. Like I was around in LA, like all during that era doing swag events with these people and being a part of that world. And so that went on to grow to Beyonce and Rihanna designing products for them, actually standing next to Beyonce backstage at the BET Awards I was back there for 5 days. So I say all of that because it became a process that I was able to replicate. And then even doing like in PGC, working with Gary Vee and of course the Kardashians, I met Chloe and she spun around and took the picture with my classic Posh Life bling picture. When Chloe walks in and she flings her hair and she just holds my little the Trio phone, if anyone remembers that. God, I'm dating myself.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, working with Gary Vee inside of PGC. So that's what I teach because I've been doing it like 18 years now, being able to create that type of. So the reason I ended up coaching and moving into the coaching space is because people wanted to know just what you're asking. How did you do it? How did you collaborate with all these people? And I do it over and over, even just like maybe like 2 months ago, I connected with Waka Flocka. Like again, it's just knowing how to, and he's obsessed with my brand. He's obsessed. He's like, you tell me how you want to work together. We'll figure something out because I believe in what you're doing. And it's just a methodology that I've used from them. But the reason I started is because I kept getting asked all the time.
Wow. I had no idea, like, in that process, you worked with so many, like, celebrities. And I want to ask, like, did you ever ask them for an endorsement or was it because of your product?
I never asked for an endorsement. I've done big projects with different brands. Here's the thing with celebrities too. You have to realize they get asked for so many things all the time. And I never wanted to create that space where I was not positioning myself first. Whereas, so now if you look at, I was an up and coming brand at that time. Now I've worked like on big projects with like Project Runway and the blinged out, what is it? The spray that like the pepper spray, like huge projects, Diane von Furstenberg. So they will come to you as you start to build, you position yourself and you put yourself in a much better position than asking for something that maybe your business isn't ready for yet. My business wasn't organized and scalable at that time. It was brand new. I was still figuring it out. I was making 20 grand a month because I could charge so much. I was charging like almost $1,000 a piece at the time. So I could do 10 or 20 and be great for it, right? Now I'm in a position where I have brands, major brand, like Gary Vee's people reached out to me. That's huge, right? And his brand is reaching out to me. I'm on live streams with him and he's shouting out the Posh Girls Club. Same thing with Waka Flocka. He's an artist, but he's also a businessman. He has lots of businesses. And so the fact that he's trying to find ways to collaborate with me, that's when you change the game instead of asking. And I think that's important.
Have you ever like envisioned yourself being this successful, like when you first started Posh Life Bling? Because I remember when we worked on like our sessions together, you always like asked us to, okay, like create a vision of where you'll be like in your most successful state. Like, have you ever had this vision in mind or was it just like a process?
I always had a vision that I was going to live a very freaking fabulous life. Okay. In my mind, listen, in my mind, I was driving Range Rovers when I was 15. Okay. In my mind. And now for the last 10 years, that's what I've driven, different ones, right? In my mind as a little girl, I was always a dreamer. And the people around me were just like, her head is all the way in the clouds. She's never going to do anything serious. Even though I was driven and all the things I realized that I was passionate about then, I am still very passionate about. And that's why, like, I say, trust yourself, get into your zone of genius, whatever that is. But I always imagined, and I was living luxurious in my mind before I ever lived luxurious. Let me tell you, when I was married, we had a TV on a box, a little tiny baby TV that you could put the VCR in, sitting in a box. But in my mind, I was living the posh life. And then it just, like I
Yeah.
said, I just legit on the back of my first Range Rover, I got Posh Life. That was my tag. My
Like,
tag
as
said
your,
Posh.
oh my gosh.
Yeah. Now it just says Posh. But yeah, my first one. And so yeah, in my mind, I always envisioned it. I believe that's big. You live the life, live it. And I don't mean like go spending things. I mean envision what it feels like to embody the life that you want. Feel it, lean into it, and don't let other people tell you that your like head is in the clouds. Because my head is in the clouds, but I'm floating on dollar bills, $100 bills. Okay.
That is some major affirmations. I think we all need to hear that. I think, like, especially with like COVID, like the economy is not doing so well now. We even more so we need to like put our head in that right mindset. We need to believe that, you know, good things are happening, like things can happen. And that was so amazing. Like you can like you already felt that, like the luxurious sense, even though you weren't like spending a lot of money. And that is so rare. Like I don't really hear that from other people.
Yeah. I I'm big on, being smart with my moves. That's why I didn't buy the purse. I didn't scrape up. And this is where I see a lot of businesses go wrong, just talking about it from the business side. I know it's inspo, but also if you're thinking about this, wherever you are in your life, so many people spend first and they think that if they do it the other way, it's being cheap. No, it's gritty. I work in a multi-million dollar Silicon Valley tech ed startup. We are number 2 in our space. I'm passionate about this work because we help people, minorities, get into the tech space at jobs starting at 60, 70,000 when they were maybe making 20,000. So it's life changing. Even in that, it's gritty. Everything is prove it. Prove the case first. Prove your concept. Prove your idea. And that essentially is what I did with Bling. I proved my concept first. I figured out the most gritty way to get started, the least amount of money that I could possibly spend, which was nothing. All I had to do was spend the time. Yeah, it was sweat equity more than anything else. And that's something else that a lot of people lack is that grit. I knew what I wanted. I mean, I had years in there where I didn't even know if I was going to feed the boys. So fast forward 13 years when I divorced my ex-husband, that was a hard time because he did not want to see me win. He did not. And so
Yeah.
he did a lot of things to hinder at that time my growth and me being successful, even though I was raising our sons, you know. And so I was on my own. I had to figure out, what do I do to keep pushing forward? So even through a couple of years there that were just, I was driving around in my Range Rover and couldn't feed my boys. I couldn't get rid of it. I had 3 homes that we had. We had luxury cars, and now we're fighting over everything. You have to be able to keep your mindset in a place where you know what you're capable of. Wow, I think that's it for me. I always knew what I was capable of, and it didn't matter how long it was going to take me to recoup and to start over. I knew that I was, because I had this vision of the life that I wanted to live, that I knew that I was worthy of living and that I could live.
Wow. No, this is major because I think it resonates with so many people. There are so many people out there who just don't like seeing people succeed. I'm not talking about like close relationships, but there's just, you know, like cyberbullying, like tons
Yes.
of bullying around nowadays, and anonymous haters online. They just hate successful people, and it's just so upsetting. And I think what you said is 100% agree with you, because like you just have to know your worth. Like who cares about those other people? You really just have to focus on yourself and your own efforts. But it's hard. Like it's hard for, you know, even like millennials. It's like with all those voices around, it can be quite distracting. Do you have any advice on how to, like keep yourself in that path, stay motivated?
I do. I do. And man, you hit like so many things for me there because most of my life, like without real friends, I had one friend from high school from day one, but she didn't live near me. I didn't have people around because I worked at home and then I was a mommy to my guys. So I was at home with little boys and then blinging stuff out all day long. The people around my mom didn't really support, and not to like hate on my mom because my mom like loves me, but she didn't get it. Right. And sometimes the people around you, they just don't get it. It's your path. Even the people that are closest to you, sometimes they won't get it. So I felt very alone and isolated. And the fact that I left my husband, and that's just something that was a big deal for her too. Like, regardless of how terrible it was abusive and all these things, I'm still supposed to stay and work it out. Yeah, no. So then that was a point of contention. And then you have the people on the outside who judge, who just don't understand why you want the thing that you want. And this is my advice on that. Keep your dreams close to yourself. Because sometimes you talk yourself out of your dreams by sharing them with other people
Yeah.
when you're not even fully into the dream yet. I started bling. No one knew. No one knew that I was selling bags. No one knew, because I felt like I had, like Michael Jordan says, I took it personal. I felt like there was something I still had to prove because I had eloped and I had done all this stuff the wrong direction. And so I always felt internally there was something to prove until it became, I have to prove this to myself. And if you can get yourself to a place where you're just focused on no ill intent on anyone else, you're not trying to be dismissive of other people. It really comes from a very humble place where you're like, I really just, this is just what I want. And if I want it, it's in my heart for a reason. And it's okay for you to want what you want. It's your life. No one else at the end of your life, their thoughts and their opinions are not going to matter to you. What's going to matter is how you feel. Did I do what I felt like I was here to do? Did I lean all the way in to my magic and live my true best life? And that is why the Posh Girls Club exists, to help women to know that these things that you're feeling and thinking and unsure about are okay. But I want to help you get there faster. I want to help 20-year-olds not have to be 39 or 40 before they realize that they can live in their truth wherever they are.
That is just so powerful. I just can't help but like feel this joy from inside, because just like hearing what you said, that was so empowering. Yeah, I really do think, what you're doing is so amazing. Helping people to realize their dreams and to realize the possibilities. Because like I really do think people around us, they might not be on the same path as us, because like obviously we want something different. Like we want to create something of our own, and either it's like a business or a podcast or just like a product. Yeah, just people around us might not understand that, but it's great that you're building this community of like-minded females who are doing like a similar thing and supporting each other.
Yeah, because it's not for them to understand. That's the thing. And it's great if they do and they support it. And that's why I say sometimes, like, and you don't necessarily have to build alone, or that's why we have communities like PGC, right? So you have like-minded people with similar thoughts and ideas and visions that can help support you when the people like who I'm not like there's not one other person in my family that I can think of that's like me. Not one. I am like straight up champagne all day, like bubbles and giggles. You know what I mean? Like just high energy, like you're opening up a champagne bottle. That's my personality all day. That is a lot to take for some people. Just it's a lot to take, and you would think, well, why wouldn't you want someone who's bubbly and energetic around you? No, maybe not. Like calm down, right? So find your people. Find your people, whoever they are. But when you're building your ideas or you're thinking about things that you want to do, whether it's a podcast or a YouTube or both, right? Because hashtag repurpose with purpose, multi-purpose that stuff. When you're creating this, write out your vision. I call it brand mapping. This is something I do. It's like first step in branding and teaching branding.
Yeah.
And it's really getting a vision of what could this look like for me? What could this potentially look like? And so that really lets you know, yeah, this is something I really want to do. Or maybe not, let me tweak it. And that's how you connect to something before you start sharing it out with the world, who's going to have tons of holes to poke into your plan. So,
I want to ask more about, you doing everything. So obviously you as like this founder, CEO of your company, and you also being an important part of another company and also a mother, that kind of like, gives off like a vibe that you have it all. And that's like a term that now people are throwing it around, like having it all. So what are your thoughts on this? Like, is this true? Can women have it all? Or what do you prioritize? Like, how do you make it work?
first of all, I'm going to say yes to that. And I don't have it all yet, I don't think. What I do have is a great appreciation for what I do have. And that's something that I have always had along the way, every point in my journey. And I mean, those couple of years where we were like struggling, okay? I still was so grateful that I had my sons because they are like the stars in the sun. And just the fact that they could get up, that I could get up every morning and still be able to be at home, even though I didn't have all the things even that we needed. Like I said, there were times we were just starving, but I figured it out, right? So I think it's wherever you are, the important thing is to find some way to value where you are at the moment, because that's how you get to the next thing. And I know that sounds cliche, but I am sure that that's what got me through those hardest moments, because I would cry in the morning, I would cry at night, but and I would cry in the middle of the day, but all throughout it, I was working my ass off, and it kept me pushing forward. I have this, it could be so much worse. I've got this. Now, how do I get to the next level?
Yeah.
And that's what drove me. And I think that women can have the space to have all the things we want. We just have to decide. It's simply a matter of us deciding, what is it that I want? And then you still have to you still got to have the time for yourself, honestly, which is something I still haven't mastered yet. So I'll let you know when I get to that part. I'm very fortunate and blessed and grateful to be able to do the things that I love in both spaces. What I do for SV, I do for is what I do for the Posh Girls Club. And then eventually you'll get yourself to where you can grow out a team, which I now have employees and people that can take over in different spaces. When you get to that point, do it. Do it, because that's how you'll be able to scale.
That's amazing advice. Because I think a lot of us, like, when we're young, we're just like everywhere. Like, we don't know how to start. We want everything. And, we see our friends like doing this and doing that. And we want to do it all. So it's good to, just narrow it down. Like, really,
Yeah.
have time to think like what you really want. I mean, like, even if you kind of went down like another path and that you change your mind, and that's perfectly fine. Like, you can totally
Mhm.
change your mind in the middle. Okay, speaking of like changing your mind, can I ask a bit about your love relationship as well?
I didn't date for a really long time because I was a single mom, right? And so my boys were so young. And a friend of mine, when I first got divorced, he was like, your boys are young. He was like 15 or so years older than me. And so he had a lot of advice about that I really took to heart about who could come around and be around. And now I'm actually just like starting to get back on a dating scene, because my boys are like, I don't care what you do. I think dating is it's kind of scary. I haven't mastered that yet. There are so many opportunities out here, like the dating apps, it's just weird. I have a spiritual advisor that I just brought on, and she told me, no, that's not for you. We need a real matchmaker. For me, it was so important, just because of my personal experience. It was so important for me to feel like complete. So I don't feel incomplete at all. I can go out at any time with any guy, right? But I wanted to feel like whole. And I think that is where dating becomes a problem, especially for young women, because it, like, rejection doesn't bother me,
Mm.
because I'm complete. Like, it's okay. I'm just not for him. I don't feel compelled to hang on to people if if it doesn't feel right for me. It's easy. Honestly, it's crazy how easy it is. But I'm sure that that has come from so much life experience, right? And having the tumultuous marriage that I did, that I don't want to just accept mediocre. And I suggest to any woman, don't just accept. It is Men are so simple. The reality is, if you accept BS, you better believe you are going to get more BS. That doesn't mean you have to be hard or like hardened. Do I appear like a hardened person? No. But I do have expectations and standards. And if you're seeing specific behavior, you're not imagining it. Stop explaining it away and stop wasting your time on people who don't value you. It's not about age, it's about respecting yourself and understanding what you're willing to before you are out like seeking real relationships. That and for me it's honestly as simple as that.
Wow. No, thank you so much for sharing that. I really do think it needs to come from someone with like your life experience. Like
Yeah.
like a 20 something year old would not have that realization that easily. So, for women like us who have our own company and do our thing, we kind of scare men off. That's what I've been feeling for a long time. Like when people ask like, "Okay, what do you do?" And when I say, "Okay, so I'm like a founder of this company," they immediately like walk away or strike up something offensive like wow, like aren't you like a strong one? Like
Yeah, I hear that one. Or yeah, it's crazy. All of a sudden you're the person I'll be for, when you're just sitting there looking pretty in your cute little outfit. Oh yeah, it's all about getting your attention. And then they find out, yeah. In fact, my mindset coach told me, he was like, don't tell men what you do in the beginning. I was like, that is so lame. You've always given me great advice, but that is terrible advice. I get what he meant. I get what he meant because either it pushes them away or they're clinging to you for the wrong reasons, right? So
mm,
how do you find that balance? That is what I'm still trying to uncover. But for me, I feel like there are seasons in your life. There are times when you're building in different areas if you lean
mhm,
into it. So what I've seen are these patterns in my life. You're so focused on trying to push one thing. Say you meet this guy and oh my gosh, he is everything. I just love him so much. And he becomes a focus at a
mhm,
time where he wasn't supposed to be the focus, right? And so now everything else has been thrown off. These things they shouldn't feel like pulling. It shouldn't
mhm,
feel like pulling. It should feel like attracting, right? That's how you know you're living in your highest purpose. You feel attraction happening. You feel magnetism, right? Pulling you together. The key and the trick, I can say it now, 18 years later, 19 years later, I can say it now. When you feel that resistance, that pull versus the attraction, that's not the zone of genius that you're supposed to be in that moment. It's working against you, which means, for me, I wouldn't change it because I have my beautiful, incredible two guys who I love. And I'm telling you, because in that, there's a lot of scars that I have. There's a lot of scars that they have because of that trauma. And so you can avoid that if you live in your zone of genius. It didn't need to take me an extra 6 or 7 years to build my empire. It didn't need to. I was supposed to do that at 19. That's what I was supposed to do. That's what supposed to. I like to remove that word supposed to, should have, could have, would have. I don't like using those words.
yeah.
But imagine if I had, I don't regret my life, but my advice to you and my advice to tell you to live more purposely in your zone of genius. And I mean you, when I mean audience, is to pay attention to the energy. Pay attention to the energy and let it guide you. Trust your intuition is she's real.
I agree 100% because 99% of the time when something just doesn't feel right or just feels off, not just like with relationship, even with just like a friend, you're mostly right. Like, there is definitely something wrong about that person.
Yeah, your intuition will lead you and guide you. You just have to be willing to listen, to see the signs, and stay in tune, like I said, with your zone of genius. That's how you know you're on track. And don't let people drag you and take away all this time from your life and living your best life earlier. You don't have to be 35 to live your best life. You don't have to be 39 to live your best life. You can be 20 living your best life. Look at Leanne.
I mean, we can be living our best life at any age. Like, we can start early or later, like, whatever's
That's
meant
right.
for you. So we're actually down to our very last question, which is, what do you love about yourself? Like, can you share with us something that you love about yourself?
What I love about myself is that I love other people. That's
Mm.
what I love. I love that the mantra for the Posh Girls Club is I want to see you win. And that I mean from the core. That is something that comes without even trying. I want to see other women not I want to help them be aware, just like this conversation, be aware of the choices that they're making and how those choices are going to impact their lives. And that's why the Posh Girls Club exists. It's not just the quotes. Those quotes come from, I still create the quotes. I have a content manager who designs them and puts them together and schedules them and all of that. But it still has to come from me. It has to be my words. It has to be my captions. I spend a huge portion of my week, every week, creating those messages because I want to see you win. And the way that you win is through self love, self acceptance, self calling yourself out on things when you need to, because you do. Nobody's perfect, right? And my conversation may sound perfect, but it's not. I'm not perfect, but I accept myself and my flaws, and I have compassion for myself, and I also work on them. I don't just stick to, you know, oh, I'm just not behaving, let me just keep not behaving. No, I want to help people live in that type of consciousness so that they can have a better life, so that they don't make the choices
Mm.
that I made, maybe, right? So that they make better choices. They're aware of what happens when you make certain choices. They understand what life can be. People that may not have been told that in their lives, I want to be able to tell them and share with them so that they can live their best life.
Wow. I mean, it's like, I'm just processing all these. That is just so amazing. Like, sharing your experiences and your gift to the world, and who knows who needs it. And that is 100% of what we talk about here on this podcast as well. It's all just about self-love and building from that core inside of you. Listening to this would just like brighten up my day. Speaking to you on these topics, I've already learned so much, and I definitely think these topics will resonate with a lot of the audiences of all ages. So can you share with us your Instagram handles and websites to where the audience can find you when they have more questions?
Absolutely. Well, you can, of course, find me on LinkedIn, Tori Torres. A lot of people like to go there. That's more of my business side where I pretend to be a professional.
You are.
Yes. You can find me at Posh Tori, which is my personal brand. It's where you see the mommy side and a little bit more of my raw, true self, just in like everyday life. And then, of course, there's the Posh Girls Club, which is our community for fierce female entrepreneurs and business women. The Posh Girls Club on Instagram. Well, love to see you over there. Shoot me a DM and say hi.
All of these links will be posted on the show notes, so you guys definitely go check out the Posh Girls Club. I love their quotes. They're just major inspirations. I just like saved all of them, and that's amazing.
Thank you, Leanne.